What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another live Live to Roll. We're going all week with the lives this week. But we have another little bonus show for you, trying to highlight some of the really cool entries in the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge right now. So we'll get to sharing some of that in just a second. Like I said, I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 20 years ago. Tom, you want to go ahead?
What's up, everybody? I'm Tom Conaway, C6B quadriplegic for the last 26 years, coming at you from beautiful, sunny Southern California. And I'm with it, dude. I'm envisioning a future where Easter Seals is like big and on the map, and they hire us to be on the red carpet to be doing all the interviews for all the
There we
stars
go.
and directors going by. That's what I'm putting into the universe. But we're doing it live right here on Live to Roll right now, so you guys can check it out anywhere in the world. And we have an awesome guest with us today, Anna Packman, who directed Wheelchair Money. Is that correct? You were the director?
That is
And
correct.
I'm gonna toss it over to you to introduce yourself. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about your project that you've been working on.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I am the director, producer, writer, costume designer, COVID safety officer, and a bunch of other things on Wheelchair Money, which was released as
Awesome.
part of the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge. And you can find it on YouTube on the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge page, as well as on their page on Facebook, if that's how you roll. So I am also a wheelchair user. However, I don't have a very exciting story because I have cerebral palsy and I was just like born like this. And when people ask me like what happened to you, then like there's so many like interesting things that one could say, and I'm like I just never get to have a good answer. I'm like I'm just born like this. I don't know. So
And that's still a very good answer. Like, you don't have to have some exciting story of most of our
I've been
stories
rocking
aren't
this
that
since day
exciting.
one. Like you got the street cred. Yeah.
You've been yeah, you've been in it since the beginning, but yeah.
Um,
exactly,
how
OG.
uh, how long have you participated in the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge? And do you have other experience working in film and stuff outside of Easter Seals?
Yeah, so this is actually my fifth year doing the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge. It actually, I guess, started almost as like my pandemic bread baking project because I'm not very good. Actually a very good cook, but I'm not good at baking, so I never got into like the whole bread thing. But I did get into filmmaking. My first time was in 2020 when we did documentaries from home. But I do have a background in the industry. I had an interesting path. I actually started my career in finance, but that kind of sucked, so I didn't want to do that. I went back to business school and got an MBA in marketing and went to work for NBC Universal here in New York. And I was the first head of social for the Oxygen Network, which before the true crime iteration used to be a reality TV network. So I worked on all kinds of shows. Like Bad Girls Club and the Glee Project, which Ali Stroker is, got her start on.
Yeah.
Another famous wheelchair user. Not that like I'm not famous. You guys are famous. And by the way, like a big theme in my film is manifestation. So yeah, manifest yourself on that red carpet. It's going to happen for you. Or just like like my more practical character, just call Nick Novicki, and I'm sure he'll let you live your dreams there. so
I'm with it.
yeah, I worked there for a few years. I went on to work for Al Gore's network, current TV. I'm not like, I never went to film school. I'm not formally trained in filmmaking, but it was always, part of my job was to create content for digital. So, and especially to work with content creators more as a producer, sometimes as a writer to get stuff out there, to get video out there. So throughout all of my jobs, um, it's played a role, but it's with the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge where I've really kind of dug in and made my own films and directed and such.
Is that where
Well, it
your
sounds like
passion
you
is?
wear a lot of
Directing?
hats. Which
Oh, sorry.
no, you go, Sean. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna get well, the same thing because, like you said, she does seem to wear a lot of hats. But I was gonna say, is your passion in directing, or what is your passion with the filmmaking? Do you like the writing aspect of it, or what is your kind of favorite part about the? the filmmaking, um, or is it just being a director? That's all you want to do is direct the films, mainly.
I actually came into it as a writer. Interesting that you ask. I did take screenwriting when I was doing my undergrad at NYU, and I did the whole comedy writing program at the Upright Citizens Brigade here in New York. So I do have, more of a background as a writer, and particularly a comedy writer. So I was super excited that this year's challenge theme was buddy comedy. And but I also just really love directing too. And the way I got into it is funny because last time I was in LA was 5 years ago. I was moderating a panel for a group called Lights Camera Access, which runs these workshops for people with disabilities who want to, get into Hollywood or get into other forms of media entertainment. And one of the people on my panel was a director named Ben Lewin, and he showed. I use a mobility scooter as like my choice of wheels, and he showed up in a scooter, and I was like, "Whoa! Like here's someone who looks like me, who's a very successful director." He directed The Sessions, which was up for an Oscar. So I'm not there yet, but one thing that he said really inspired me to try this. It was just the fact that the job of a director is sit around and tell other people what to do. And I'm like, this is great because I have a lot of experience sitting down. I'm really good at that, right? And I'm also pretty bossy. So this sounds like, the perfect thing for me to do.
That's great.
I like that.
That's
I like that outlook. Very positive. Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about Wheelchair Money? What's the story? What's it about? What inspired you?
Oh, you have to watch the movie. No, no, I'll tell you. So Wheelchair Money follows, it's a buddy comedy, follows two characters, Johnny and Whitney. Johnny is, hyper realistic, well put together. He has, an apartment, he has a job. Maybe he doesn't love his job that much, but he has a job, and like it's, a good standard job. And when we meet him, he is on the phone with this insurance agent at his like health insurance company, and he is being denied a new wheelchair, which he really needs because his current chair keeps breaking down. I think a lot of us, especially power chair users, have definitely been there. And then he has to think about how these things are expensive, and I think like from an awareness perspective, most people out there just don't have a clue how expensive these things are. Like the next question is, where is this guy going to get $20,000? And his best friend Whitney, who's kind of like personality wise the opposite of him, she's a dreamer, she manifests things. She doesn't really have a job. She thinks she's going to be this big TikToker, but she only has 17 followers. I guess we all need to, start somewhere. But she's more of the dreamer. She's a manifester, and she finds this website, and she sees that a Princess Diana Beanie Baby is worth $500,000, which is actually a true thing. Like it's a true internet rumor. And there might be like a smidgen of truth in it somewhere. At least like I hold on to that hope because I actually have one, and this is partially what inspired the movie plot. Is because I used to collect Beanie Babies in high school, and I got rid of most of them, but I hung on to the bears, like just in hopes that like those were always the most valuable ones. And if Beanie Babies come back, my money is definitely on the Princess Diana bear. But don't worry if you've seen the movie. I actually bought a body double to be in the movie because I didn't want to risk my own Beanie Baby. And like, there were some high stakes scenes. Like she was hanging out in the back of this guy's chair. She could have fallen anytime. We were on the Brooklyn Bridge. Like imagine if I he dropped my Princess Diana Beanie Baby off the bridge. Like that would be devastating. So I had to get a body double, as we do in Hollywood. And I did pay around $25 for it, so that we now know what kind of like I think spoiled the ending. But he thinks about it, and she inspired his best friend Whitney. She inspires him to dream a little. He thinks about all the things he could do with 500 grand. And it's a big decision for him because the reason why he's held on, like this big, handsome, cool guy has held on to this toy, is because he got it from his ex-girlfriend. And the other part of the story is that his best friend, she really wants this ex-girlfriend out of his life for a good reason. Like this was not like a great relationship necessarily, but he's still like very much hung up on it. There's this whole like bit about her living rent free in his head. So for Johnny, it's about getting the wheelchair. For Whitney, it's getting rid of this girlfriend who coincidentally happens to be named Felicia. just for no reason whatsoever that you can imagine.
Oh,
Um,
we all got a Felicia in our past.
we all got a
Make that
Felicia.
beanie baby.
Felicia's.
Make that beanie baby money. Sell it. Cut them out. Get rid of them. No, I like it.
Bye,
That sounds
Felicia.
awesome. I do apologize that I haven't gotten a chance to see it, but it's the first thing I'm going to do after we get off the call is sit down and watch it and give it some love and give it the proper time that it deserves. And that's really
Yes,
cool.
smash
So
that like button. Smash that like button.
you said this theme was comedy this year. Is there always
Mhm.
a theme every year for the film challenge? And
Yeah, so
what's
the
kind
way
of the
that
criteria?
works,
Do you guys have like, is there a time limit? Is it, I'm assuming it's all short form. How much time do you have to work on it? Like, what's kind of the criteria for the challenge?
yeah, so the way it works is we get told the genre. Basically, I want to say like in January during the Sundance Film Festival, we find out what that is. So every year it's different. Last year, for example, it was romance. The year before, we did superhero movies. And but then the first day of the challenge, it's a 5 day challenge, and the first day of a challenge, we get more specific instructions, and that's the reason for that is just to prove that we made our films in those 5 days. So we get 5 days to do everything, all the like creative work. We can do some development beforehand, but everything like on the production side, editing, everything, sound has to be done in those 5 days, which puts a really like huge amount of pressure on getting this done. And if anyone out there has ever made a film, that's like just incredibly hard. And it has to be a maximum of 5 minutes long plus like a minute of credits. So that first day, we get a subgenre. This year I think like there were three options. The one my team chose to focus on was dynamic duo. And you get like certain props that you have to use. You have also a location that you have to use, but they give you a list of things to pick from. So it's, for anyone hearing this and kind of like worrying about how they would do it if they were to try to do it next year, don't worry. Like these are pretty broad things. Like for example, like the two props that I used, in my film were a phone and a hat, which are, I see already in this, live stream. That's already represented here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And like one of the, location choices always is someone's apartment or house. And, hopefully everyone doing this has access to an apartment or house.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh,
The five
yeah,
days is
that's
definitely quick.
cool. What was your experience like this year? I know you've done it in the past. I imagine it's crunch time. It's probably 5 real long days, maybe some long nights in between too. But how was the experience? And like, has it gotten easier over the years that got a chance to do it, or is it kind of a new bag every time?
That's a great question. Yes, and there were definitely some sleepless nights, unfortunately. So every year I personally try to challenge myself to do it bigger and better than the year before. And this year, I don't know what I'm going to do next year. Maybe I need to start calling like Scorsese now, because I had just this wonderful, amount of luck in partnering with a really amazing cinematographer. And his name is Larry Langton. And this guy, he shoots for the Food Network and he shoots like Fortune 50 commercials. And he's done a couple of short films, but like he shoots for like really, really big stuff that's seen nationally. And so the quality of work and like, he brought this camera package that, like I would never even be able to dream about using. We shot on Arri Alexa, their new mini, with cooked lenses, and each of these lenses cost like $13,000 each. So like this was like just kind of like a dream production. But working with someone like that and working with that kind of like level of production does require a different approach and a different amount of effort for sure. In that we really I think worked like not that, any of these projects are not real sets, but like really like a real set and had to approach it like we were making a Netflix movie. And actually, the guy who colored it, he does work for Netflix regularly. So, these guys that he brought on the crew side were just like really, really amazing and raised the bar. But that also raised the bar for like the rest of us too, of like, this is not just something that I'm now doing with my friends, but although these guys are now my friends, but this is, like an extra level of professionalism. And I'm just so proud of the team because like every single person really rose to the occasion. And we were, it's funny, Larry and I almost were like the real life, like buddy comedy behind the buddy comedy, because like he's the like dream big. And I'm like, you're not putting 20 people in my apartment, dude. More of the realist, side of things of like, how can we do it with less, just knowing some of the constraints and knowing, like, there are things that we want to kind of go for and there are things that we want to kind of tone down. Also with locations this year, probably the biggest challenge were the locations. And, it was a big risk to do the amount of outdoor shooting that we did in New York City in April, because the weather is has a lot of variability here. And we were going to shoot, they give us Tuesday through Sunday for the whole production. We were going to use Tuesday as our pre-production day, and Wednesday and Thursday we were going to shoot, and then Friday and Saturday focus on post-production into Sunday and hand it in on Sunday. That didn't work out because a crazy like hurricane came through New York City. It was almost like hurricane level winds, and it was just this terrible storm. And there was no way that we were going to risk the equipment. And also, like, 3 of us were going to be using power wheelchairs on the team. So there were, as you know, like power wheelchairs and rain don't mix. Expensive camera packages and rain also don't mix. So, we kind of made the call and said, okay, we're going to do Thursday, Friday. We're going to lose a day of post production, and we're just gonna let this camera do its thing and just hopefully that saves us time. So that was the most challenging thing in terms of like, also like, it was just really cold. It was much colder than we expected. It was much colder than when we determined what the costumes would be for cast. And they were such troopers. They were so amazing. Like, they didn't complain. These were 15-hour shoot days, both days. Because we could only get our crew for 2 days. And part of it is the volunteer thing, because everyone who does the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge is not allowed to get paid. Everyone has to be a volunteer. So actually, when people are volunteering, it's much easier to say, like, can you just give me 2 days? And those can be very long days versus dragging it out and doing like 3 or 4. It's much easier to get people to commit. And so I just still can't believe we did it. I mean, we had to shoot on the Brooklyn Bridge, which was so beautiful. It turned out so well. But it was so risky because even actually when we were shooting on the bridge, I don't know if you know, earlier that day we had an earthquake, although most of us on our team didn't feel it. So we shot through an earthquake for the indoor like apartment scene. And then we went out on the bridge, and there was the next day, and then we had an aftershock. So we had like an earthquake while we were on the bridge as well. So we're, like shooting this like really ambitious story in 4 days now instead of 5. Producing this in 4 days, shooting in 2. And, we're hitting all of these spots between, like Bryant Park, Times Square, the Brooklyn Bridge, and all of those, kind of like also getting around New York City. And it's just amazing that we were able to get it done.
That's really cool. You guys, sorry, you guys did have some really great shots in there, the bridge and stuff. It did look very nice. Yeah, great.
That's what I was just going to comment too. I did not get a chance to watch everything in its entirety, which is why I want to, wait to talk about it maybe more in detail or check it out more in detail. But the little that I did get a chance to see before we hopped on the live was that's what I remarked upon the most, was how beautifully it was shot, like the cinematography. Like, it was so stylized. It looked like looked like Netflix or something, like, just like what you said, super, really top tier cinematography and stuff. And I'm sure the acting and the writing and the rest of it is just on par with that. But particularly that really did stand out to me. So it's really, really cool. And it was just so funny. I was going to say, all of us Californians were like, this New Yorker's got a 4.6. Like, that's an average Tuesday here in California. Like, we're all up on our high horses with the earthquakes. We're like, oh, they got a taste. They got a little taste. But I imagine that like, when you're crunching like that and trying to organize everything, I imagine it's super stressful and a lot of work, and any little thing, is like a wrench in the plans. And, you got to balance it. But it sounds like you're really great at spinning a lot of different plates at the same time and keeping the flow of things going. um, being in a chair, being kind of in the seated position, maybe it's a little easier in the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge because all the representation is there. But I'm curious, like, have you ever faced any difficulty related to your disability in the workplace, in kind of the capacity and working in the industry and stuff? Is there anybody that has it taken you as seriously, or any like not so great experiences, or even on the flip side, has it helped you? Has it helped you be seen? Has it been a positive force in navigating this space?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like we had like a little bit of a post mortem after the production, and I asked Larry, I was like, well, how was this for you? Because it was his first experience working with like a bunch of disabled people. Because actually, like I use a wheelchair. The lead, Jesse Chin, he actually in real life is a manual wheelchair user. He has a CI and he's a gunshot violence survivor, and he use my chair for the reason of like that bridge scene. Like that bridge scene would not make sense with a manual chair. So like his disability just had to be a little different in the film. But like I feel like it's okay. Like a wheelchair user is a wheelchair user. It's not like really, like an able-bodied actor playing someone in a chair. And but like the rest of the cast, like they didn't look visibly disabled for the most part, but 100% of the cast had a disability actually.
Wow.
So that was really cool. And I feel like as people with disabilities, like we make it work with each other. Like it just is so seamless. And like one of my actors actually has like a deadly shellfish allergy. So I was like, okay, cool. I just won't like eat shrimp in my apartment for like a week, no problem. Like we'll just make extra sure like nothing gets cross contaminated. Like it's not gonna be the end of my world if I don't eat shrimp for a week. Like no big deal. And like I think with a lot of able-bodied people, like they just kind of don't get that, and they're like, "Oh my god, my freedoms! I can't eat shrimp." And we definitely saw that like throughout the pandemic. I think we're still seeing it. um, but you know, I think in the workplace, yeah, there's definitely been a mix of experiences. I think there's, and kind of finishing up, sorry, that story, kind of going back to what it was like for these like very, experienced professionals who haven't had a lot of experience working with people with disabilities. The thing that I kind of heard in that postmortem was just like, oh, it was the same, which was like beautiful. That's exactly like A plus. That was what we want to hear. Although he's like, oh, maybe you're a little faster than other directors because like your chair goes so fast and you could like move towards me more quickly. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that helped. And but I think there's a lot of people out there, especially in the entertainment industry and in other industries, and I'll kind of give you an example, of something that was once said to me a long time ago, that I'm sure see someone who looks like me, or see someone who looks like Jesse, or looks like Dayton, who was one of our PAs and just so wonderful and helpful on set, and is like, oh yeah, how is that person going to do a 15-hour production day? Just not knowing anything about us. And I had that experience once when I was applying to business schools. I had an alumni interviewer who, and at the time I thought I was going to go into management consulting, which requires a lot of travel. And I'm like, I actually love travel. But, this woman, she asked me, she's like, well, how are you going to be able to keep up with that? And it was like, just like anyone else.
Yeah.
um, so I think there's like the question of stamina, but I think what's been positive in my career, the people who have actually had experience working with me, like that misconception kind of goes out the window right away, where oftentimes I've been like the last one in the office, and I've generally been known as a hard worker, and sometimes like I've had people get mad at me that I'm working too hard. They're like, why'd you send that email before like start time? And I'm like, nothing against you, it's just like when it was convenient for me, just read it when you get a chance, who cares. Um so yeah, it's definitely been a mix, but I think like the negative situations, they happen when people don't have experience, and they kind of have these misconceptions that really haven't been appropriately dealt with.
Yeah. The only time I've really struggled is when I've encountered people who are stuck in their misconceptions, who are not really open to the idea, or just like open to like the reality that this is pretty much the same as everybody else. Maybe there's a little bit of nuance here and there with accessibility or otherwise, but in
Mhm.
reality, like we're all just humans living and working and doing the same thing everybody else is trying to do, just from a chair. So I think that's really awesome and super inspiring and really, really great to hear. And I love to hear about experiences where professionals in different fields and stuff do get an opportunity or a chance to work with individuals with disability for a first time and have their eyes open to how similar, how easy it is, and maybe like just that step towards full like equality, and like representation and stuff is just one tiny little step further in that progress, which is not seeing the chair, not seeing the disability, just seeing everybody for who they are, which
As
is
equals.
awesome, capable. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're all human, right? That's a. I actually had one question for you, Anna, too. I wanted to go back, and I don't know. I'm sorry if you did mention this before when you're talking about Larry and the, like in his equipment and stuff. How did you find everybody? Like, did you already know him? Did you have contact with him, or did you just reach out for your film? Like, how did you find all the people to volunteer and to do all the stuff with you for the film?
So you've seen the film, so you'll get the reference, and James, you'll get the reference like maybe in an hour. Um, I manifested him. So,
You manifest.
uh, yeah, no, I mean, like it was a mix. There were people who were involved in the production from the beginning that were friends of mine. BJ Lang, who played actually the insurance agent, he was also like a assistant writer and associate producer on the project, and he and I have been friends for a long time. He's actually out in LA. And he filmed his part completely in LA with his, friend who's a cinematographer out there, which definitely saved us on a setup in those 2 days. Um, which is really cool. So he and a couple of other people, a couple of other friends were with me from the beginning. Mary Vanawi, who plays Felicia in the movie, she and I met at UCB, and she's written on a bunch of my projects. So she and I also, kind of go back. But then there were a lot of new people, like Jesse, I met actually at an event last year, and just found him to be. He was a host, and I found him to be, very striking. I was like, that's someone that I want to work with in the future. And he kind of, as I was developing this idea, kind of like in my mind, he was Johnny. And it's funny, I actually named the character Jesse on paper first, but then I changed it because I'm like, he's acting. I don't want him to get confused if the character has the same name. It's just going to be, too confusing. Let's just give the character a different name. Larry and I met when I put out a call for crew on a random New York City filmmaker Facebook group. I made this Google form and I was just like, hey, anyone interested in doing this for free, please fill this out. And then I went back and looked at the form, like a week or two later, and I saw Larry's entry there. I clicked on his website, saw his portfolio, and was like, this guy does not know how to read because it clearly said for free. And there's no way like this guy is going to do this project and not expect to get paid because like this portfolio is just too good. I'm like, this is not real. So I emailed him, and he's like, no, I'm like really interested. I've been meaning to email you too. And we ended up talking, and it was just like right away it clicked. It was it just felt like it was going to be a great creative partnership. And he had the things that I lack. Like I am not good at the technical side of things. I'm a director who is an actor's director. I really love working with the actors. The rest of the cast, so Whitney, and it was critical for the Whitney character and the Johnny character to have really great chemistry, which I think we just struck gold with Pam Schuler, who is both hilarious, just such a great comedic actress, and just had really, really great chemistry together with Jesse. We did a casting and we looked at a number of different actresses. It was a really hard choice, but it ultimately came down to like who he felt like was like you know his best friend, the person he clicked with the most. So it was great to kind of have her join the project. And Teresa, who played the toy appraiser, is actually a friend of mine since high school. She's a really amazing comedy actress here in New York. Actually, there was going to be a name actor who was initially interested in playing it and didn't work out, and she was basically his understudy. And as soon as like he dropped out, she stepped in, and I just couldn't imagine anyone else as a toy appraiser. She just such an amazing job. She was so funny.
Yeah, she was funny. That was a good. She did a good job with that. Yeah, no, I was just curious because yeah, that is a lot of people to get to volunteer for a project, and then for somebody to bring that type of equipment and that level of stuff. That's really cool. So
Yeah, and a couple
Um,
other people I found through actually Indeed. I just posted like, I was like, okay, let me treat this like, I would my job. I would post job descriptions. So I made up a few volunteer job descriptions for key things where like Larry was trying, he was trying to find guys in his network and there were a few guys that he brought, but there were other positions where we were still we were still in need of someone. And so I found like a really great Divey Martinez, just such a professional, great sound mixer, and just such a great guy to have on set to do the sound recording. Rodrigo Herzog, who did our editing and our actually created our poster, which looks so cool. Also came to me through that. So yeah, it's just like pounding the pavement in different avenues of meeting people, and really I think like this year treating it more professionally, treating it more like a job helped a lot.
Very cool. Just to shout out a couple of the awesome people who've stopped by and hanging out in the chat. What's up, Ken? Wheelchair Rick, our friends Rocky and Sarah. Somebody name I haven't read in a while, Mr. David Washington, was also had some experience in film on the animation side. Was one of our Northridge friends here. So shout out, David. Hope you're doing well, man. Sending you lots of love. And everybody else that stopped by is just watching, said what's up in the chat. Really appreciate you guys for stopping by on our little bonus show today and give them some love. Give them some love to Anna. And really encourage you guys to go check out this film. And that kind of leads to my next question is, how can we support you? What's the criteria to win this bad boy? How do we watch it so many times on repeat that it gets enough views? Is that some of the criteria, or is it just people, a panel of judges? Like, how does that work? How do you know if you win?
Um, yeah, so there are a few different categories. So the creative category is those are decided by the judges. So there is a panel of judges. If any of them are your cousin, put in a good word. No, I'm just kidding. Their names are all on the website, so you can see. You could go to 23andMe, get a DNA test. You just see if you're related. I don't know.
I think
Um,
Shawn might actually have a cousin who works for Easterseals, don't
really?
she?
She does, but she works in like the camp department. Not, yeah, completely
Not
different.
a part of the film challenge, but we got an in. I bet she
Yeah.
knows some people. So we'll work on it, Anna. Don't worry. We'll work on it.
All right, I'm feeling better and better about this by the minute. That could be the other buddy in comedy. Yeah, that's another great buddy comedy idea. We'll bottle that for the next
Okay.
time.
So
But yeah, and then there's the other category is the awareness campaign, which is kind of like a popularity contest, right? Like, so that's determined based on a number of different things. Um, Number of times the film gets viewed on the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge YouTube and Facebook pages, the amount of social media engagement our posts get about it, and also press hits. So this is actually helping a lot. Thank you. And if anyone out there wants to interview me in the next couple of days, also hit me up.
Awesome. And when
you're
does the voting or like that end for the numbers and stuff? So everyone knows.
Yeah, so it ends for the numbers on Sunday, this coming Sunday, April 21st. But for I would say though also like just for life, it doesn't end, right? Like because like disability awareness, it's 24/7, 365 days a year. So at least for me, like also being a disability advocate, it doesn't end.
Certainly. Yeah.
shout out to you, Anna. That's awesome. You're totally
Yeah.
right. It never stops because we're representing and shouting from the rooftops until everything is equal and fully inclusive and accessible. And you're absolutely right. The conversation continues and the awareness continues. So everybody, you heard it here. Go any extra devices you have, just put it on. Just put it on loop, repeat. Stack up the fuse. Make sure to share it on your social media if you feel so inclined. And I'm pretty
And
sure the link is in the description of this
it is.
video. So you can just click on that link and it'll take you straight to it. And yeah,
Yeah.
was there any other questions, Shawn, that you wanted to
I had just
ask?
one other like kind of different question about the film thing. So if you could pick a future category for the challenge, what would you choose for like the next year's category or whatever? What would you prefer if you could make any category film?
I mean, of course, I would prefer comedy because I feel like I have a little
Okay.
bit of like an advantage there. But that being said, actually, what I would love to see, because I don't think it's ever been done in the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, is like horror or thriller, because I think there's so much that could be done with that and disability. And I also think because in general, in that genre, like there's also been like the negative side of like disability representation, right? Like there's been like the horror movies that show like disability as a scary thing and like the ugly thing. But there's also been, a lot of progress, and I'm thinking of like films like The Quiet Place Part Two, and I think there might be a Quiet Place Part Three,
Yeah.
and that might be the only one that has gotten disability inclusion in that genre completely right, because John Krasinski just did such an incredible job writing that character, and Millicent Simmons did such an amazing job portraying that character, where the disability actually became an advantage in the story. So I would love to do that. And also, it's like it lends itself to low budget too. It's a genre that's kind of particularly known as being like very accessible to low budget filmmakers. So I think there's a lot that can be made there, and I think that like it just could be very accessible to lots of people. And I feel like there's so much like accessibility angst we could get out in a completely different way.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun. That sounds like it'd be cool.
Totally agree. And I think the paradigm is shifting. I mean, even like, and I know it's like superhero related and stuff, but we were talking about it before because you live in New York, but Matt Murdock and Daredevil and stuff portraying, like, yet accurately, like, what's like maybe, I mean, he's superpowered, but the way they portray blindness and stuff, I think, is very well done, tastefully done in a way that's more empowering than anything for the character. I think they even had a superhero who's deaf for one of their new series, and I'm having trouble like bringing up the series, but I think just to like comment on what you're saying is the paradigm is shifting in that it's not being represented as like this negative thing or this terrible life incident that like totally like ruined this person's life or whatever, but instead it's showing like the strength that it can lend to an individual, portraying it in a positive way, showing how normal and even in certain instances and how we learn from it, how it can be an advantage and stuff, which I love because it's just super, super important for the world to see that. It's one of the most important things. So we really appreciate you being a part of that, Anna, for helping change the world and portray us in a positive and powerful way because it's super, super important. So appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And make sure you guys do check out the film. Like Tom said, it is in the description right below. You can click on the link, watch it, give them the like, lots of views, and check out some other films too. It's
Yeah.
really inclusive. I know somebody had just mentioned when it started like 10 years ago, there was 5 entries. This year there's like 100 and something, like 30, 40, 100 and something like that. So that's just really cool to see how it's grown, and hopefully will continue to grow. And then I'm just gonna real quickly as we end. This is a bonus show, extra show for the week, but let's shout out our sponsors again. I'll go since Tom did them on yesterday's show. Thank
Yeah.
you to our sponsors, Mobility Professionals. Mobility Professionals is a DME, so they're any wheelchair, commode, standing frame, anything like that you need. If you're local to Southern California, they can help you out. Give them a call. Their information's in the description below. They're great people. They're definitely willing to help. They'll come to you. They'll set you up. They'll help you with insurance. And then their sister company, Urology Professionals, is national. So if you need catheters anywhere in the US, they can ship you your catheters. If you're having any issues, you're not getting the supplies you need, insurance is just being a pain in the butt, they will help with that kind of stuff. They're really great at customer service and just helping you get switched over and making everything smooth and easy for you. So thank you to our sponsors. We appreciate you guys. And thank you again to everybody in the chat that's watching, that's going to watch after
Most
it's
of all,
live.
thank you, Anna, for
And
popping
Anna,
on
we
with us
really
today
appreciate you,
and
man.
sharing your story, sharing your film, for making it in the first place, giving us something to talk about. And we just appreciate you taking your time to be here today.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for having me. This was great.
Absolutely.
Really
Absolutely.
appreciate you. And if you guys are hanging around still on YouTube for a bit, Tom's coming back in an hour or so, the hour and a half or so, to do some gaming. So you can join the chat again, hang out. It's always a fun little community hangout. And if you're into gaming, you want to actually hop on, shoot Tom a message. I think he can probably get you
Just,
on.
just join the live. Just come and hang out. We got people that hop on every week. If you feel so inclined, if you just want to hang out and have a good time, we just chat and chill and spend the evening together. But it's a lot of fun, and especially if gaming's your thing, come and check it out.
And then also come back tomorrow for Wheel Girl Talk. We got Brianna, Maya, Jessica, Nikki, and Ashley. Going to be talking. So 3 o'clock, same time we started today. Check out the live. It'll be another fun one. Really good. Some girl talk. And you don't have to be a girl to enjoy the girl talk. It is for
It's an awesome group of inspiring ladies,
it
and
really
it's
is. Yeah.
for everybody. They are like really strong, amazing, powerful individuals that have a lot to offer and a lot to teach, and are hugely inspiring. So go give them some love and check it out.
So yeah, thank you
And
guys
celebrate
again.
Brianna's birthday. Brianna's birthday is this weekend, so we're going to be
Okay.
celebrating
So
tomorrow
yeah,
too.
hop on there, say happy birthday tomorrow, and yeah. So thank you guys again, everybody that's watching. Anna, we do really appreciate you. Everybody, go check out Wheelchair Money if you get the chance tonight or before Saturday. Get those likes on it, and
I'm
yeah,
gonna have mine on repeat on all my devices. I got 4 or 5 computers around here. I'm gonna just get it going. So
just
we're gonna
playing
bump
surround sound from
those
all.
numbers, Anna. We're gonna bump the numbers.
All right, you guys. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live to roll.